Meeting ground rule 1. The person calling the meeting should clearly identify the reason and agenda for the meeting, invite attendees stating the time and location, and send a draft agenda to all invited despefis. A meeting without clarity is a gathering, not a decision-making space. Every effective meeting begins with clarity of intention. Without a clear purpose, meetings easily become status updates, no one needed, or lengthy conversations that end without resolution. This rule exists to ensure that a meeting is a tool for progress, not just a routine formality. When the organizer outlines exactly why the meeting is being held and what it's expected to accomplish, it sets a tone of focus and relevance. Clarity begins with a simple question. What do we need to achieve in this meeting? Is it to align on project timelines, review design feedback, resolve a blocker, or approve a decision? That purpose must be written clearly in the meeting invite so that attendees know what they're walking into. A vague invite leads to vague participation. A specific invite leads to intentional engagement. The draft agenda is a powerful tool, even when it is preliminary. It helps everyone come in with the right mindset. An agenda that outlines topics, time allocation, discussion leads, and desired outcomes does more than inform. It invites preparation. Attendees can reflect, bring data, organize thoughts, or alert the organizer if something critical is missing from the list. When it comes to choosing who to invite, this rule calls for precision. Just because someone is part of the department doesn't mean they need to attend. Attendees should be selected based on their relevance to the topic, either they're key decision makers responsible for deliverables or significantly impacted by the outcome. Too few people and you risk missing inputs. Too many and discussion becomes diluted. Clearly stating the time and location, whether it's a Zoom link or a meeting room number, is essential to avoiding last-minute confusion. This is especially important for cross-time zone teams, where ambiguity can lead to people missing the meeting entirely. In hybrid environments, the location must be logistically sound for both physical and virtual attendees, with the right tech support in place. Sending out all this information in advance signals preparedness. It sets expectations. It tells participants that the meeting will not be ad hoc, but intentional. It also gives everyone the chance to flag conflicts, suggest agenda additions, or escalate if a critical person has not been included. This early communication is what prevents late-stage misalignment and last-minute chaos. This rule is not just about logistics, it's about mindset. When the person calling the meeting is clear, organized, and respectful of others' time, that behavior cascades. Attendees are more likely to be punctual, prepared, and engaged. When meetings start with uncertainty, participants often multitask, remain silent, or hold back on meaningful contribution. Ignoring this rule leads to cascading inefficiencies. Without a stated reason, people question the value of the meeting. Without a shared agenda, conversations drift. Without a defined participant list, decisions can't be finalized. The result is more meetings to clarify the first meeting, draining time, energy, and morale. Ultimately, this ground rule isn't about formality. It's about respect. Respect for the project, respect for people's time, and respect for the decision-making process. A well-planned meeting is a reflection of a well-led initiative. It invites people into a space where their presence has purpose and their contribution matters. Meeting ground rule number 2, the intention to hold a meeting should be communicated to project management. Meetings are not standalone events. They are pieces of the broader execution framework. At first glance, this rule might seem like a matter of simple courtesy or protocol. But in project environments, where time, resources, and dependencies are tightly interwoven, communicating the intention to hold a meeting serves a much deeper function. It ensures that the project's central coordination mechanism, project management, is aware, informed, and ready to support or guide the outcomes. In any active project, especially one with multiple work streams, meetings can happen frequently and independently. That's not a problem in itself. But when they happen without the knowledge of project management, the result is fragmentation. Actions get discussed, decisions get made, and risks get raised. Yet none of it is captured or connected to the larger project context. This is how gaps, misalignment, and delays begin to form. Communicating the intent to meet isn't about asking for permission. It's about creating visibility. It tells project leadership, A conversation is being planned that may influence the direction, scope, timing, or resources of the work. This allows project managers to stay proactive. They can offer support, ensure key people are looped in, or advise on how the outcomes of that meeting need to be tracked, approved, or followed up on. It also prevents duplication. Often, two different teams may be grappling with similar issues like scheduling, technical constraints, or change impacts. If project management is aware of upcoming meetings, they can connect parallel efforts, eliminate redundancy, or help merge conversations that should not be happening in silos. Communicating the meeting also brings scheduling discipline. In complex projects, calendars are packed and resources are stretched. When a team or lead plans a discussion in isolation, they may accidentally overbook critical people or create a time conflict with more strategic sessions. Project management acts as a central node that balances participation across all active initiatives. Another advantage of this rule is that it supports traceability. When meetings are logged or announced through project channels, they become part of the record. Outcomes, decisions, action items, and risks can be captured and integrated into the broader project tracking systems, ensuring that nothing falls through the cracks. When this rule is ignored, the side effects accumulate silently. Decisions are made in pockets that conflict with approved plans. Commitments are made without resource backing. Issues raised in meetings don't get escalated. Worst of all, project management becomes reactive, constantly trying to catch up with what has already happened. Following this rule builds unity and rhythm across the project. It reinforces the idea that every meeting is part of a coordinated flow, not a standalone event. It also makes contributors feel supported, knowing that their efforts are visible and connected to something larger. More than anything, it builds trust. When project management knows what conversations are coming up, they can engage constructively, providing insights, offering clarification, or resolving dependencies that might otherwise slow progress. Communication is not control, it is coordination. And in complex projects, coordination is the difference between motion and progress. Meeting ground rule number 3, limit the attendees to those who will contribute. Observers are not required. They can read the minutes. Meetings are for active participation, not passive attendance. This rule gets right to the heart of one of the most common meeting problems. Too many people in the room and too few actually speaking or contributing. It's easy to assume that more attendees means more alignment or transparency, but in reality, it often leads to dilution of purpose, longer discussions, and diminished accountability. A meeting should never be a spectator event. It is a space for problem solving, decision-making, brainstorming, or progress alignment. Each person in the meeting should have a clear role. They are either providing input, making decisions, or owning outcomes. Anyone outside that scope is better served by reviewing the minutes or receiving a summary afterward. When attendees do not have a meaningful reason to be present, several problems arise. First, they are less engaged because they're not directly involved. Second, they often multitask, which sends subtle signals that the meeting doesn't matter. And third, their presence can unintentionally derail the flow by asking off-topic questions, prolonging debates, or shifting focus to their own interests. This rule also protects the energy of those who are essential. Smaller, focused meetings allow for deeper conversation, faster decisions, and more candid collaboration. People are more likely to speak up in a room of 6 than a room of 20. When contributors are chosen carefully, the meeting becomes sharper, more strategic, and more efficient. Organizers should ask themselves, what is each person's role in this meeting? If the answer isn't clear, they likely don't need to attend. This doesn't mean excluding people arbitrarily. It means including them intentionally. Those not required in the room can be kept in the loop through well-prepared minutes, action trackers, or recorded updates. There's also a psychological benefit here. When someone is invited to a meeting where they have no speaking role or actionable follow-up, it can feel like a waste of time. Worse, it normalizes the idea that attendance equals productivity, which is a dangerous mindset in busy environments. People start collecting meetings on their calendars instead of delivering outcomes on their goals. This rule reinforces the idea that meeting time is not free, it's an investment. Every person present is costing the team attention and time. Being selective with attendance ensures that investment pays off. When ignored, this rule leads to bloated meetings where nothing moves forward. Discussions go in circles. Time runs out before decisions are made. Attendees leave without clarity on next steps because no one truly owned the outcome. Productivity suffers, not just in the meeting, but in the work that follows. By limiting attendance to contributors only, the meeting becomes a focused tool of execution. It respects people's time. It sharpens outcomes, and it reminds everyone involved that their presence is valued not just because they're available, but because they're essential to making progress. Meeting ground rule number 4, give attendees enough notice to prepare. At least 48 hours is a good thumb rule. Preparation is the fuel for productive discussion. Without it, meetings become updates instead of decisions. One of the most avoidable causes of ineffective meetings is insufficient notice. When participants are invited at the last minute, they show up underprepared or not at all. They may not have reviewed key documents, aligned with their teams, gathered relevant data, or even understood the purpose of the meeting. As a result, the meeting ends up being a surface-level conversation that needs to be repeated later with better preparation. This rule exists to reinforce a simple but powerful principle. Effective meetings begin before the meeting. Giving people time to prepare shows respect for their schedule and gives them space to reflect, review, and arrive with value to add. A 48-hour window is not just a scheduling courtesy, it's a planning enabler. Preparation looks different depending on the meeting. For a project milestone review, it may involve gathering updates and verifying metrics. For a design discussion, it could mean reviewing diagrams, stakeholder feedback, or technical constraints. For a decision meeting, it might involve comparing options, aligning internally, or evaluating trade-offs. All of these require time that doesn't exist when the invite is sent just a few hours in advance. This rule also supports better thinking. Not all insights emerge in the moment. When people are given even one day to sit with the agenda, reflect on their input, and come with structured thoughts, the depth of conversation improves dramatically. What might have been a reactive response becomes a considered contribution. That difference often marks the line between a mediocre and a high-value meeting. For meeting organizers, this rule is also a test of discipline. It encourages early planning. If you can't define the purpose and agenda 48 hours in advance, you probably shouldn't be calling the meeting yet. It's better to wait, prepare well, and run a sharp discussion than to rush into a vague one and waste everyone's time. When this rule is ignored, several issues show up. Attendees defer key questions because they're not ready to answer. People ask for follow-up meetings to circle back on points they couldn't evaluate. And decisions are delayed, not because of disagreement, but because of unpreparedness. These delays multiply across the project timeline and impact delivery. There's also a morale cost. Last-minute meetings create stress and disruption. They force people to drop what they're doing, compromise their quality of input, or feel unvalued, especially if they're expected to contribute without warning. Over time, this erodes team engagement and weakens ownership. By following the 48-hour rule, meetings become a place of clarity, not confusion. Participants walk in, aware of the purpose, ready with the facts, and able to contribute meaningfully. Discussions become sharper, actions more precise, and outcomes more actionable. The meeting becomes not just a check-in, but a step forward. Ultimately, this rule isn't about formality, it's about responsibility. When you give people time to prepare, you're giving the meeting a chance to succeed, and that makes the difference between simply gathering and genuinely progressing.